Hello, my name is Peter Dickinson, and today I'm going to speak about anger. I'm not a doctor or a psychiatrist, just someone who was born and brought up into anger, and I'm speaking about my own experiences and my personal coping mechanisms. If you believe you have issues that are beyond the scope of this video, then I strongly recommend you contact your healthcare professional. This is part one of a 5-part tutorial on how we can reduce and overcome anger and improve our relationships with people. In this first episode, I'll explain my own experiences of anger, and I hope that by speaking openly about myself, you'll be able to apply that knowledge learned to other aspects of anger that arise in your life. I'm going to set out how we become angry, how to stop it getting out of control, and how to finally eliminate anger. Okay, let's get started by saying what we mean by anger. Anger covers everything from blind rage to mild resentment. That means it covers about everyone you know and everyone you're ever likely to meet, because most people will at least rise to mild resentment at some time in their lives. At the lower end of the scale, anger includes sullenness, meanness, impatience, frustration, sarcasm, while at the higher end, it includes fury, jealousy, spite, hatred, aggression, and violence. Most of us move through the spectrum at different times of our lives, and sometimes at different times of the day. Anger provides a lot of energy, so we might feel energized when we're angry. And an example here is anger caused by the fear of missing out. When we become aware of what we perceive to be missing in our lives, we become energized by our want for that thing, and we move up to anger, which drives us to action to improve our lives. So we could say that anger has its place in certain circumstances, like getting yourself out of poverty. But then we need to learn to halt and then let go of our anger, because there's a great deal of anger in the world right now. The amount of suppressed anger within our world population is reflected in how much violence there's in our media. We're presented with others who let out their anger in the form of beatings, shootings, stabbings, killings. We live in a world where we're constantly being shown chronic resentment through our media channels. We're led to believe that one nation has wronged another nation, and we become collectors of injustices. Anger ties us up. It doesn't set us free. Also, we feel so much guilt about our anger that we need to justify it by making the object of our anger wrong, so that we can tell ourselves that our anger is justified. That's right. We think we're justified in being angry. We've defined who or what is wrong, and we get a small, cheap satisfaction from that. But the price we pay for anger is sickness and premature death. Right. My own experience. In 2017, I was taking the role of full-time carer for my wife who has Parkinson's and MS. I was also running my own small business and doing all the cleaning, shopping, cooking, laundry, everything else that needed doing in the house and the garden, plus being the number one carer for my wife. I remember the day this all became too much for me. I was complaining to my wife about how tough it was, all and just getting that I felt I needed some help. I'd already been to see her GP to see if the health service provided support, and I was told no. I also saw my own GP and asked him what I should be doing. And I remember his answer. He said, most people in your position just bugger off. And if you keep stepping forward to help your wife, the health service will keep stepping back. Now, back to that fateful day in the kitchen with my wife. I think I must have gone through all the reasons I objected to being left in the role I found myself in. As I set out each element of my grievances, my anger moved up to another level. I could feel my rage building, and I felt perfectly justified in telling my wife how I felt and letting off steam as I went. It's not the fault of my wife that I found myself in this position, and I really don't know what I expected her to do about any of it. But I continued to become more angry. Eventually, I found myself so angry that I could no longer speak. The emotions were just swirling around inside me, and then even my ranting wasn't placating me in any way. This was the point when I morphed from being a carer to my wife into being a threat to my wife. Not a physical threat, but not someone she could rely on. From Mr. Dependable to Mr. Angry Person, from Dr. Jekyll to Mr. Hyde. My face was red, my heart rate sky high, and my system coursing with negative chemicals. I realized that my ranting was not resolving anything, so in frustration, I stopped and left the room. Now, that situation eventually got resolved because I realized my wife was not getting the care at home that she needed if I was angry all the time. And it became obvious that we needed someone to join us in the home to take care of her. But it was going to cost. I decided to work harder, earn more money, and pay someone to look after my wife. Something I was clearly not managing very well. It was only during the last couple of years that I've come to understand what happens to the chemicals in our brain that are produced when we're angry. And one of the shining lights has been reading Letting Go by David Hawkins. It's a brilliant book. And now I want to talk to you about how we can help ourselves to control some of this flaring emotion. These days, I know the underlying tensions there that will mature into anger, but I'm getting better at catching myself thinking of being angry, and by doing that, I can stop it. This is not easy at first. I've learned to listen to my thoughts, and I know that sounds odd, but we can monitor ourselves and be our own observer. Then, when we start thinking about something that's making us angry, we can stop it, change our way of thinking well before we break down into anger. We can simply accept the thing that's making us cross and let it go. In my case, once I realize something is working me up into anger, I stop and focus on breathing. Let's just do that together now. It'll be a 3-second inhale, pause, 3-second exhale, repeated 3 times. Okay, together now. Breathe in, 2, 3, and then out, 2, 3. And then the same sequence again, in, 2, 3, and out, 2, 3. And finally, in, 2, 3, and out, 2, 3. By switching your brain, your thinking, your focus from your brain to a core function like breathing, you can release the anger before it takes hold. However, that's not the end. We need to let go of the anger, otherwise it's just another suppressed feeling, and we all have lots of those. So what I do is I think, why does this make me angry? And then I might be able to work out where it might have started. So as an example, let's take a common occurrence on the road. A driver cuts in front of me on a busy road. Immediately I feel angry. I breathe and stop it escalating. Then I look back at what caused the anger. I was brought up to believe life was a fight, was a race, something I had to win. And winning was to be achieved above anything, including putting other people down. Now I know I'm mature enough, I don't need to let that old belief, I don't need to believe the old belief, and I can let it go. So now I think that driver's in a hurry because it's an emergency for him. Help him by getting out of his way. I'm not in a race with him. Now I don't feel hurt by his action. Now I've got a positive feeling that I'm helping someone. It's all a matter of perception, and we can change how we perceive things. Another way I help myself to alleviate anger is to meditate each morning. That way, when I find any distress rising in me, I can go back to that calm place I was in earlier in the day and just do some breathing exercises, and it comes back to me. It usually lasts less than 10 seconds. I'll be speaking more about meditation in another video, so watch out for that. But that's it for this piece, and here's your takeaway. Remember, we can catch ourselves before our angry emotions run away with us and take a few seconds to stop and breathe. That means we can all handle this ourselves. We've no need to call emergency services or phone a friend, or we're just one breath away from reducing our anger. And that will result in better personal relationships and better health. There are 4 other videos in this series, so make sure you get to see them as well. This piece was inspired by David Hawkins. I've already mentioned his book, Letting Go. It's brilliant. I'm Peter Dickinson, born and raised in anger. I'm not proud of that, but I'm getting better every day. See you next time.